Mord. Pretty strong. Mord and Ornn has been the KT duo when they're running them bot lane. No guarantee it's an Ornn bot lane, but Darius has to go somewhere. So that's the kind of thing you have to remember on the side of Jin Air. So the Bruise Bros might be coming back. That's what we call Mord and Ornn affectionately on this cast. There's just no range champions allowed. Jin Air surely is going to last pick Lulu, but we'll wait and see.
We'll see whether it actually is going to be available to them. Like you say, it could be the Swain on the bottom side of the map. Rather, still has an opportunity to play the Lulu, potentially.
And Viper has been away from the AD carries that he made his name on. So
yeah,
we'll wait and see what the decision is.
Oh, the classic GP into Mord pickup could potentially be where they're going as far as Griffin is concerned, but still so much flexibility. We're not really going to know anything even after this final pick has been locked in, because everything can go everywhere as Jace looks to be the top lane pick. That's going to at least sort things out, but Viper could still be playing it. Who knows what's going to happen?
Teams are really liking this bot lane GP. I agree. That's the same read I have as GP versus Mord. It has been established as a good matchup on a different power level GP years ago. So many things have changed, and this actually failed for the Afrika Freaks, this GP versus Mordekaiser try. Ooh, a champion that counters bruisers. Brilliant. Well, the Jace is going to be a bit frustrating for Anivia, but everyone else could potentially get stuffed by this. We've talked about Anivia and Swain beating the meta, and now each team has one. This will be fun to see.
Yeah, and it's just going to be like Kuro demonstrated, absolutely fantastic for just setting up that Glacial Storm and making sure everyone's fighting in amongst it.
Let's wait and see the flex. There's been a couple of AD carries. I'm looking at you, Deft. Still playing the Jace in the bot lane. Shout out to the 2016 Deft performance.
Yep, the old teleport Jace.
Well, it's back, and it might be played in this game. It'd be surprising because Darius can run over the GP, so we were expecting the GP in the bot lane, and we're going to get it.
Yep, it is going to be exactly that. Griffin not going to be as sneaky as we've seen other people be. That is going to be that. Will be the teleports for 3 members of Griffin. Same thing, but we got 4 on the side of Jin Air. I wonder whether that means that it's going to be Spellbook for Nova. Not entirely sure. 4 teleports will certainly help the Globals.
7 teleport game. A lot of people packing up and leaving lanes. The rotational play may not be prototypical from years gone by, but could be very interesting to track in this game. Could definitely end the laning phase, go top, and try to take a first brick in a different lane. Griffin versus Jin Air. Kakao back in the lineup. Hopefully Kakao is feeling a little bit more razor sharp today. He wants to ignore that first performance and fly with flying colors in this second game.
Yeah, we'll see whether he can redeem himself after what was, yes, a very difficult performance his first time around. A 0.8 KDA, certainly not something that you want to be remembering, but getting himself back into the swing of things is Kakao now on Jin Air. But ladies and gentlemen, our first game of the day. It's going to be so much LCK coming at you with 3 best of 3s. Let's get into our first one as we hit Summoner's Rift. A few more people actually filing in. We had about 5, I think, when we started the show.
Hey,
but
there was people in the top row. There was at least 13.
Yeah, 13. That's fine. Yeah, you can see fans in the audience now. We have actually filled up. There's way more than 15 now.
Filled up is a strong term. Guys, if you want to watch some League of Legends, come down to the OGN E Stadium in Sangam.
Yeah.
Take a flight. You might miss the games, but there's games tomorrow. You'll probably arrive in time for those.
Just make sure you get one that has the Wi-Fi. We still haven't checked in with Jin Air whether they've got the Wi-Fi just yet.
Well, we're going to check in with Jin Air's League of Legends, which also needs a check-in, given their struggles so far this season.
Yeah.
They're away from the funnel strategies, at least with Umti out of the lineup.
Also with Karthus out of the jungle as well, means that there's a few less funnel options, and that Master Yi ban becomes a little bit easier, as this ward is getting a heck of a lot of value. My personal favorite Mordekaiser skin there as well. Thanks very much, Teddy.
Probably my least favorite pairing, though, is Teddy X Mordekaiser. That's, you know, one of our most mechanically gifted players, known as the Fountain Laser for his famous Sivir game where he wrote the record book in terms of CS, and now he's on Mordekaiser.
What are you saying? Are you saying that Mordekaiser isn't a mechanically exciting champion to watch?
Yes. I like it when they just stand in one spot and super micro the Drake.
Yeah.
That part's great.
But you can micro yourself and the Drake at the same time. That takes some mechanics. Somewhat.
At the highest level, you'll notice that Sweeper is the meta choice for supports. Often at level 1, they'll rush and put down a ward. Then change over to Sweeper. Sweeper's even more important in bruiser lanes because you really need to know if they're camping the brush or not. There's a lot of kill pressure at level 1, level 2 from most bruiser lanes. So good Sweeper from both teams, and we're able to sweep out that ward earlier. Let's see if Viper can make us believers of this GP bot lane. The thing I was referring to is that way back when, at 2015 Worlds, when the Juggernauts were just reworked and Gangplank was its highest power level ever, it was the one game we actually saw the much vaunted Mordekaiser, but it was Mordekaiser versus GP, and the GP certainly wins that out as time goes on. As the crit barrels come down, Mordekaiser can't step on them, so he ends up getting zoned. Now in the laning phase, with the barrels and the GP nerfed so many times, is that as relevant? The one game we saw from Kramer, the answer was no.
Yeah. You saw Viper there as well, actually getting the passive off onto Nova, so a lot of damage going down here on the bottom side of the map in favor of Griffin. Nova has had some really up and down performances so far here for Jin Air. Finding himself an MVP, I believe, in their victory
Rakan, yes.
on his Rakan, which was absolutely fantastic to watch. And sometimes also having a few brain fades with some of his engages.
He looks like a rookie bot laner who has some mechanical skill and is most comfortable on engaged champions. So I'm definitely not willing to close the book on him. In this lane, Viper will be able to proc the Kleptomancy basically whenever he wants because he's against 2 melee champions. So at least GP will get his farm on. Haven't seen much of Tarzan and Cacao yet, as they're just annoying one another.
Well, it is going to be Cacao getting engaged on here by Tarzan, but a really good matchup here so far for the Trundle. Knockup comes in, but the flash is going to be followed, and Tarzan looking for first blood in a 1v1 in the jungle of Jin Air, and it's a disaster for Cacao already.
And it's another decision-making problem from Cacao. Jace was going to rotate first. We were seeing Anivia be out-rotated by Swain. We're going to get a pause here as Cacao says that perhaps he wasn't able to get out of that when he wanted to.
May have potentially been a problem with the Trundle pillar, potentially. We did have some issues with the Weaver's Wall yesterday, and
pathing.
Terrain pathing could have been a potential problem, but we'll have to get an update as to what just happened for you guys at home.
So yeah, it does seem like it's related to the same control issues that Mata was having, so that is concerning to hear. To be honest, it did look like a very poor decision-making mistake if he was in full control of his actions, so
yeah,
maybe Occam's razor is correct here. As Tarzan's like, but I got a solo kill.
Yeah.
On one of my idols. I actually don't know that Cacao one of his idols, but I think Cacao was most jungler's idol in 2014.
I think he'd be pretty safe in his UV.
It was Cacao or Dandy. You kind of chose your poison in 2014.
But then Dandy became a top laner.
We don't talk about that.
His Hecarim was amazing.
If it happened in the LPL with a Korean player, it doesn't count. I realized that was going to be too harsh, so I had to add the qualifier of with a Korean. Remember, in SEC also, things happened in China that we don't talk about.
Hey, that's true. That's true. He was a Master Yi player.
Yeah.
And also not necessarily a jungler. He played Shaco as well. He helped Uzi get a pentakill on Shaco.
This is a record of facts. Keep going. Keep going, Atlas. Tell us more stories.
I want to go back to Dandy as well, because while we have this pause, we can basically talk about what we want.
Oh, we can.
So, Dandy moving to the top lane felt like he just wanted to keep playing Hecarim, and people stopped playing him in the jungle. And he could still take Smite when it was the Smite teleport meta. So it felt like Dandy was like, oh no, but my Hecarim, I want to play this one. We are going to have a look at exactly what happened.
So Cal was definitely clicking up. Now he starts fighting. There's a lot of things he could have done here. I don't know if he had a ward up. He could have warded over to the crows.
Oh, no. Tried to walk over where... See? He can't actually path past where the...
Oh, so the
pillar remained there when it wasn't.
So he decided to go back in, but then he thought he had an escape plan that he didn't.
Yeah. He thought he could walk over where the pillar was.
That definitely looks very similar to the Mata issue.
It was, it seems to be basically the same. Seems like...
So to translate for people at home in the simplest possible terms, his character seems to be pathing as if the terrain that was created for yesterday, Weaver's Wall, today the Pillar, is still there when it clearly is not.
Yeah. So it's just sticking around for a little bit too long. Yesterday it did mean that we were going to chrono break the game, and we are going to do it once again. Just got confirmation that we are going to pop back and chrono break once again. So we were talking about...
that we chrono break for a game that was 3 minutes in, but...
Yeah.
Nothing really happened this game, but that is the rule book, so that does take time, I believe, guys. Yesterday it was about 8 to 10 minutes, so while I'm not 100% certain of that, Chrono Break is not as instantaneous as the Echo ult, sadly.
Yeah, it's a little bit interesting as well that we are still going to be having, Talia certainly still available, not actually seen at all in this draft, but would only be going into the mid lane, of course, which does mean that priority is going to be lower. But
we're also going to have patch 8.11 all week, and this seems to be a bug that is spread to every champion that creates terrain. So
and we've got 2 of them in this game.
And there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And they're in the meta.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's, a worrying trend, I'm going to say, for the length of my broadcast this week.
Yeah. Yeah, we could be here for quite some time today, Papa.
Yeah, and we were already scheduled to be.
We were. But, I mean, the thing that I like is the fact that we'd otherwise have gigantic breaks, but now even if it's a 2-0, we could potentially just go straight into the next series.
Happened yesterday.
Yeah, no worries at all.
But
well, I mean, you had a pause that was longer than the actual game by about 20 minutes.
Oh, maybe longer than that. The game was 28 and the pause was 40, so... But Valdez and I had plenty of things to talk about.
You definitely did.
That man knows a package.
He certainly does. I believe it was a conversation about deliveries, obviously, which is why you were talking about packages. Yeah.
DHL, FedEx, all that stuff.
Yeah. Here in Korea, talking about deliveries is really fun because everything comes so incredibly quickly.
I ordered a monitor and it arrived the next day. It felt very good. It didn't even say next day delivery.
I got a new duvet. And I got really confused because they call it comforter here. We call it a doona back in Australia.
And most people would know comforter, I'm guessing, in our chat.
Yeah, I think so too. Whereas duvet, I think, is that British?
Yeah. I mean, duvet sounds French, right? So
yeah, it's got probably so many different words.
My guess is it's a borrowed word from French that the English have naturalized, but then everyone else has their own term.
Well, if anyone knows exactly the origins of the comforter / duvet / doona is concerned, just make sure you get
you say
in
doona,
contact
and
with
then
us
most
on
people
Twitter.
now really want a kebab. Including me. Yeah. Thanks, Atlas.
Hey, now I want a kebab. I didn't even know. I wasn't even triggered yet.
So how do you get your kebab done? When you go to order a kebab, because the kebab, as us Aussies would say.
Yeah.
It's a very common food. What do you order at the kebab shop?
Well, I mean, I feel like I don't want to admit my alcoholism, but half the time I can't remember because generally that's when you get a kebab.
That's true.
Yeah.
Kebab is the traditional...
It's the drunk food.
After you've had a couple of beers.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
We would never endorse having more than a couple.
I've never had more than a couple.
No. But a couple is not a discrete number with you. It's a range.
Yeah.
It's 0 to 50.
Well, I'm not gonna continue this one. I feel like we're getting into territory that's a little bit further away.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday we were very sensible and never went to any territory. So good that you're reining us in, Atlas.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't want to go off-brand, No, but as far as what I get on a kebab, I'm a mixed kebab man. That's what I am.
The lamb and chicken?
Yeah. The lamb and chicken generally.
And I know very well by your Subway preferences that you're an all salads kind of guy.
I am an all salads kind of guy, but when it comes to kebabs, generally it's like tomato, onion, and lettuce, right? They're going to be the staples. And then I get tabbouleh. I'm a tabbouleh
I thought you would be able to, but no hummus?
I sometimes get hummus, but the garlic sauce means that you've got excessive amounts of garlic, so maybe it can be a little bit overly sauced.
Are you suggesting there is such a thing as excessive amounts of garlic? You're a Vladimir main, aren't you?
Yeah, that's actually a very good point, and I'm not that guy. As my general life tip for everyone is that there's never enough garlic.
And yet you just went against that in your kebab. Maybe it's all the...
I just go for, like, if I want more garlic, I just get more garlic sauce. Just give me more of that garlic sauce.
Yeah. Well, I think Tarzan would probably enjoy some more garlic sauce. To be honest, the kebab culture here is a little primitive. There isn't a lot of kebabs around Korea.
No.
You can find them if you go to a very westernized area, but other than that, it feels like they have many replacement foods for the late night drinker.
Yep, they certainly do. If you're not going to go hungry late at night, and if you're generally your drunken cravings taken care of very, very well here in Korea. But we've got a kebab guy in around where we live, who's often there on the weekend, just in his little kebab truck.
But is he there when you need him?
Often, yeah.
But not always.
Not always. But you are the kind of guy that really needs to have the option all the time. Like,
it's true.
Your new favorite Mexican restaurant that you got very upset at because just sometimes it wasn't open when you needed it to be, and it's really broken your heart.
Here are the Chrono Break rules going back 20 seconds to before Zinjao got solo killed by Trundle at level 3.
Yeah.
I do have the awkward thing where I have a favorite Mexican restaurant, but I work 6 days a week and it's closed on Mondays. So I kind of have the struggle of I'm actually working while it's open.
Yeah, you need them. You need them to deliver here to the Soli Stadium.
It's quite far away.
Yeah.
It's a struggle, you know. But I am rewarded with great Korean League of Legends. Unfortunately, right now, the great Korean League of Legends has been delayed a little bit. But to be clear, we will very soon have some League of Legends. The Chrono Break is going to remove the unfortunate death that Kakao suffered. And he gets another lease on life. Important for Kakao.
Yeah, going to be coming in just before the pillar was used. So that is going to be the timing. I believe the junglers will still see each other, but I highly doubt we are going to be seeing an engagement once again because, of course, some free information going over to Kakao as far as this Chrono Break is concerned. So I think we'll just go back to some quiet farming, but hopefully we don't have this crop up again as the day goes on because really could be one of those things that could crop up. But at least now we know that if this happens, Chrono Break is going to be happening, and this time around it's not going to be 50 minutes that we're going to be sitting through. It's going to be more like the 10 or the 15 or something like that. We are once again going to check out what happened. Just keep an eye on where that pillar is, and the fact that Kakao cannot path around it and has to use that flash. So
you definitely didn't want to use flash. You want to go to the right of your screen. Could not, and that is why that particular issue happened. So as we mentioned, the Chrono Break sadly does take actual time to actually be put into place. Of course, the league officials have to work out exactly where the Chrono Break will be to, i.e. before the action has happened, but not too far. So that is why we are staring intently at one of the legends of Korean jungling. Surreal thing for me when we think of Kakao, who is not on the screen right now, but who, of course, was a moment ago, is I remember when he was an LCK champion. When OGN champions Summer 2014 won by the KT Rolster Arrows. He was their captain. He was by far the most experienced player. And you think, okay, that was Kakao. That was so many years ago. The surreal thing for me is he was 18 years old then. He was already kind of a veteran of the scene, but he was only 18, just 18, when he was that experienced captain for Rookie, who was obviously super youthful at the time. So now all these years later, he is a veteran, but he's not a veteran at 25, 26 years of age because of the skewed ages. Still only 22, still very young, still wanting to make a big re-entrance into the LCK, and that's why, you know, obviously the situation is not ideal, and we're really hoping to see him rise up because he is a big character just like Fly. We've had 2 big characters come back into the league, and actually winning is important to be able to talk all the mess that Kakao is famous for.
Yeah, exactly right, and in fact, this is the first time that I've cast Kakao so far. Not the first time he's played, but I didn't have the pleasure of casting his Camille game. And the last time I think that I actually had the pleasure of casting Kakao was when he was back on IG 2015 or something like that. So I'm just excited to see what Kakao's been up to yet again. Because, of course, he's been around the world since then. And finally back in Korea.
High highs and low lows. 2016 on 1U, the Chinese LSBL team. That was a failure. They didn't actually get promoted to
a rough one,
the LPL at the time, and then over at Misfits and in the TCL in spring season. So definitely had a world trip, but not one you want to remember. I think this is definitely supposed to be the new dawn for Kakao, maybe his last chance for a big new dawn when it comes to the LCK at least. I know there was some resistance when he came back to Korea because the KT fans are still quite upset with how he left all those years ago. Seems like there was a bit of communication issues there when it came to actually laying out the plan. And he, of course, was not alone. A lot of players went over from Korea to China at the time. A lot of them back now, which is cool to see. A lot of stars that are back in the league. And we're hoping to see Kakao at his full powers, but it's 2018, and he has to, unfortunately, reprove that he can be the player that shaped the jungle meta alongside Dandy in 2014.
Yeah, speaking of Dandy, of course, one of those players that did go over to China in the mass exodus. A couple of the names that haven't come back. Who would be your favorite? My personal favorite would certainly be Rookie. I really wanted to come back to the LCK, but he's playing so incredibly well for IG and really has settled into China.
Rookie of active players, for sure. Especially when we were struggling in terms of mid lanes before we had BD and UCAL. There was that gaping hole that Rookie should have occupied. Of players that aren't around anymore, Dade is the big one, of course.
Yeah, true.
Big favorite of mine. Speaking of old players, as we get the replay here.
Yep, Kakao is going to actually make it through here this time around, but Red buff not going to be enough for Tarzan to actually secure that kill this time. So I think I've seen this before, but different result this time.
Back to the action. The flash is left up for Tarzan and Cow, and obviously notably Cow not dying. Tarzan's not done with the counter jungling though.
He's going to throw down another pillar. Cow's going to be able to walk around this one. This time it was still there, but the counter jungling, like you say, is going to continue. Tarzan with all of the information could be able to head up towards this top side as well, but a dive this early will be dangerous.
While we still don't have too much action developing in terms of old players, big shout out to Madlife, who announced his retirement today. Official retirement. The faker before faker, the guy who made support sexy. One of the big reasons that so many people even became fans of professional League of Legends, let alone picked up the support role. So, great career for him. Sad with how it ended, but I'm sure he'll still be around League of Legends for a long while.
Yeah, we know that he has been on the LCK caster desk for the Korean broadcast, so excited to see whether he is going to pick up some more casting. But still, no idea what's going to happen there, as Tarzan is going to make his way back in, and this control ward is not going to last very long at all. I mean, that's not your 75 gold's worth, as Kakao immediately replaces it. Back coming in here for Viper, who should be able to afford a fair few items, given that Kleptomancy has been going off. And he's immediately going to teleport back in. Tarzan comes down as Kakao's going to be able to get his second Rift Scuttler.
Very important to transition from top to bot lane as the Scuttle came up, given the getting coverage for your Mordekaiser on Bruise Bros to push up is very important. Nova's already got a back in, and now Mordekaiser can. That was just purely the advantage of having a teleport Orin to hold the lane, and also the fact that Mordekaiser doesn't have mana costs on his ability, so could push longer than the GP was able to.
Yep, not worried about it. The rush on boots too has been a very common choice here for Mordekaiser lanes just in general. So Ninja is going to be what he opts in for here, understandably, against the Gangplank.
Could be most of the way to a Targon's, also could just be the start of a Banner of Command from the Mordekaiser, as the Raptor Cloak does build out of the Rejuve beat. So that has been the pretty common first item spike to have even more annoying push pressure.
Yep. Generally now, if you're on the live patch, of course, can't build that Banner of Command, so Rally's Crystal Scepter will...
One more week, baby!
Tarzan's going to turn up. Once again, set up that pillar, which does make me nervous every single time. But Kakao not going to be worrying about it. And Sword's going to easily clear out all of these minions. So using his teleport to get back to this lane a little bit earlier on, wants to get himself a bit of a freeze, put this in the right position, and he's going to be very happy with where this lane is.
Griffin players have targeted a lot of praise to Tarzan, even though on the stage we haven't necessarily seen the highlight plays of him outside of a couple of Camille games. Reason why I want to mention that is the invade timing there was immaculate. Anivia had no mana, so could not be involved in any sort of skirmish. Swain stayed to see, need to back up the Trundle. Now looking for the red buff invade as Rather is back in lane. It's all about the time to counter jungle, and the team also facilitating it, so very clean stuff from him.
Yeah, and of course the Swain moving up did give information over to Jin Air, so it does look like Kakao will return the favor. Doing a bit of top to bottom jungling as Tarzan and Kakao are going to just switch sides here. So not too bad. Grace is even going to help out, as Jin Air did have priority on the bottom side as well. So Dragon seems to be the option, and level 6 was gained here by Teddy, so we are going to have a big Cloud Drake to head towards the mid lane or the bottom lane to get some extra pressure here for Jin Air. This is exactly the type of control that they want to start this game.
And to reward Kakao, the Scuttle Crab on the bot side and the bot lane control is what led to this. So having the Ocean Drake, the Cloud Drake be available there is pretty important. Top side.
Yep, Flash is going to come in very, very quickly here as the Subjugate comes down. That Apprehend not quite going to be enough as First Blood goes over to Sword, or second First Blood, or a very confusing thing like that, as Dragon is going to be doing a lot of damage here to the bottom outer turret in response from Jin Air.
Trying to make something happen on the bot side, but a lot of health already taken out of this Drake Spirit. What about the timings here? Bot lane timing after Mord had level 6, so the Drake could be involved. They're trying to get as much damage as possible, so the hands might just all in.
Yeah, it is going to be the Ignite down onto Nova, so they really did want to get something done as the Dragon getting very aggressive. Teddy does need to be a little bit careful because it will proc the turret aggro. But speaking of turrets, top lane outer is going to fall as Rather throws down the ultimate here in the mid lane just to put pressure onto Grace.
He had his never move cooldown up. Who knows what might have happened there. A lot of damage onto bot lane turret, but certainly not an entire turret, as two people were there to buy time. Cal has already disengaged this bot lane play, so in the end, if we're not able to trade up, despite giving over the Drake Spirit to the side of Jinna. Not often you will see this, being able to take the top lane turret so easily with the Jace lane presence. Now Darius going to be eminently gankable in that top side. In the mid lane, the Anivia is picked as a counter to both Swain and the Bruiser team comps that are pretty common on the Rift right now. So to be down in CS early is not necessarily a huge surprise, given that Anivia takes off at level 6, but definitely a growing concern for the side of Jin.
Yeah, Rather has looked very, very good. You mentioned the map movements earlier on, certainly something that he does pride himself on in general, but being able to have all of this lane control at the same time certainly speaks good things for Rather, who has just been on Lulu duty, as well as that cheeky Vel'Koz game as well for Griffin. But here on the bottom side of the map, it's just Viper farming things up. Certainly one of our players who has been able to transition to 8-11 better than a lot of our others.
Definitely, to me, one of the most impressive, especially, although a lot of LCK fans won't have known this yet because it hasn't happened on our stage, super, super talented player in a micro sense, but not been as required on the champion pool that fits 8-11. Yep. Two ways to approach 8-11. We have the staunch defender and ruler saying, hey, if you're a good AD carry, you're still playing it, and you have someone like Viper who's not speaking out loud, but is playing onto the new age champion pool and doing very well. So kind of fun that both those approaches to some degree are viable right now.
Yeah. I like it that you've got Teddy's approach as well, where it's like there are a few of them that I do like playing, but hasn't really tried his hands at things like the Vladimir just yet. But certainly will be able to play it, I believe, when it comes back up. As Kakao looking for a gank on the bottom side while Griffin take advantage of it and head towards the Rift Herald. They should be able to take this one down.
But the economy of movement here, that's what you always talk about with the jungler. You always say, are they making the most use of their time? Farming, ganking, looking for neutrals. Gotta say Tarzan is getting much more on the map as Kakao watches on, looking for a counter gate that was never gonna come. It feels like Griffin were actually one step ahead there. It's pretty clear that Kakao will still be bot side, given that's where they found all their advantages, and there's the standing goal of a turret being up. The smart of Tarzan and Sword to go top side, take down that Rift Herald, and it represents another further turret in the near future.
Yeah, and in fact, Kakao hasn't taken a camp for a very long time. Nothing available to him, but having that Rift Herald be taken down, and then Tarzan does have that Gromp available to him as well. So, yeah, talk about efficiency. Certainly a good time to be Tarzan.
Flash this game is even more important than it is in League of Legends, which obviously it has become the summoner spell of all time. Reason why I say that is it's going to be very common for one person to have a Trundle Pillar behind them and then be subjugated, or an Anivia wall behind them. So for these bruisers, using your flash defensively before a team fight is actually a disaster, given how many different tools there are to create terrain, and potentially a disaster for Chrono Break and other issues, unfortunately, this week. But we'll focus on the glass half full, which is that if you're forced to flash, that is a huge lead for the team that picks it up.
Well, speaking of which, if we're going to have a look at those flashes, Jinna still don't have them on the bottom side of the map, but Tarzan has decided that it's the top lane that he's going to be focusing, so on getting that wave shoved into him, and once again, Redbuff could be in trouble as Kakao wants to be able to take down this Raptor camp, and it looks like his jungle is being completely invaded by Griffin, and they will easily be able to take this Crimson Bramble back away, as well as this control ward. Griffin just seemed to be suffocating Jinna.
Was a really nice control ward spot, but yes, in terms of the vertical jungling that's happened, or the control top side for the Jace and bot side for the Bruise Bros, Jace has a long lane and no threat of being ganked, and the Bruise Bros haven't taken the turret yet. That is a timing that's struggling for them, and losing the Rift Herald, now they're going to have to all conga line to the mid lane. It's not going to solo down this turret, but it's going to force Jinna to react while they still haven't claimed the primary objective they set themselves up for. It wasn't just the Drake, it was getting that bot lane turret. In fact, there might even be a second Drake take before they even get this turret.
Yeah, this is a team that's interesting, because normally when you've got these double melee bottom lanes, or sorry, at least the ranged, but it's the ranged support coming in, so Viper's not going to be able to siege very well. You often say that these compositions aren't going to be able to take turrets all that well, but having the Jace on the side, having the Dark Binding that needs to be respected and the barrel chains does mean that Griffin can stand around a turret relatively effectively this game.
I mean, Jace is an answer to Darius we haven't seen so far in the LCK, but it's one that does very, very well. It outranges him. At all moments, he's never really incentivized to go into hammer form unless he's last hitting for mana back under turret or all-inning with his jungler. So your first thought is, okay, Jin are winning because they control the bot side, they get the first Drake. But the moment they got the kill and the turret topside and the turret stayed up for the side of Griffin, that's where this game is heavily snowballed. And honestly, So1 is basically completely useless on the top side because he can't 1v1, can't get involved, and he's not able to move the game state forward, whereas Jace has completely monopolized top lane farm and also monsters.
Tarzan has been able to take down so many control wards this game already. Slightly behind as far as farming up these creeps is concerned, but he's been able to help out with that first blood. Really get things done here as Griffin. A lot of pressure being put on because the Trundle is on the bottom side. Trinity Force completed already.
Compared to the hodgepodge from Teddy working towards a Banner of Command and Nova as well. And that's another issue. Now it's a time where they're winning trades pretty heavily in the 2v2. That low health standing gold turret is looking harder and harder to actually capitalize on. Tarzan, for the first time, is rotating the pressure from top side to bot side, and they may even lose Drake, and that can be a death knell for one of these Mordekaiser comps.
Yeah, and it's all coming off the back of that first turret blood and the first blood going down on the top side of the map, meaning that Sword has all of this flexibility. Teleport was available for So1 if they wanted to go for it, but didn't actually want to take the chance, as this Jace is just everywhere. He's been unlocked at the moment.
It's not a 15 minutes for everyone, but this has been a very impressive macro performance in the context of the picks that are still pretty non-standard. We still don't have an AD carry, so a lot of people thought macro need not apply. But Griffin making a calculated risk of giving up the first Drake to a Mordekaiser team for getting this Jace so far ahead, to the point that they've been able to transition down and get the second Drake, is actually really smart play that a lot of teams on patch 8.11 and 8.12 can learn from.
Yeah, So1 will be able to at least get rid of this control ward. Cal going to help out as, see So1, he was still harping around where that Trundle killer was as opposed to his, but thankfully it's not going to be game breaking. As rather, he's going to take down the blue buff, and Grace, he has his already. Should easily be able to secure this minion wave before it even makes it towards his own minions.
Rain and Nivea still looming as big threats as the casual Banner of Command gank by Nova.
Yeah, now speaking of Banners of Command, we're going to have 3 of them at least this game. As So1, he's building towards one. Teddy actually used that Rejuve bead to complete his Targon's Brace, but then went back to the Raptor Cloak afterwards. So deciding on the fly that it is going to be, once again, more and more banners, just as an homage to the fact that the side of him is no longer going to be in the game. Is okay, So1 could be in a whole host of trouble, will have to use the flash if he wants to stay alive, and does so, as the Subjugate is going to keep getting rid of his health. Teleport cancelled there by Grace, as Jin Air, now understanding that there's 2 on the top side, are going to put more pressure in. Rather, going to get stunned. Good wall comes in from Grace as well. Rather, not going to be needed to use the flash or anything like that to get out of it.
And that means that Tarzan and Sword, seeing so many people on the Rift, are going to have a fun time, and Cal is out of position again. He was spotted as he came to look for this turret dive, isn't actually going to partake in the dive because everything is available for Lahens and Viper, and gets nothing on the bot side. Once again, the side of Griffin trade up. Will this finally be the turret? A lot of respect being shown, but they have the barrels, they have the ultimate. This turret has been on this health value for the better part of 10 minutes now. That, unfortunately for Jin Air, means a cheeky 3,500 gold lead has been established from superior map movements by Griffin.
Well, now at least they've managed to pick up their second Banner of Command on the bottom side of the map, so maybe Teddy will be able to actually use it in his own lane. That will be able to help them grab this turret, but you're right, it just hasn't been fast enough from Jin Air.
There's not a lot of games like this patch where there isn't huge confounding variables of big outplays or crazy picks that people fully haven't grasped, that has shown one team macro-wise putting on a masterclass compared to another team. Cal has certainly been off the pace this game, and Griffin have been very smart about where to path. Tarzan has run rings around the guy known as the pathing jungler and reminded us that those statements, those famous nicknames, are 4 years old.
Well, Cal still has a lot to prove, like you mentioned. Still early days, and the gold lead is nothing insurmountable. But 3.5k still something worth talking about. Viper getting a lot of pressure down here. They've got 2 banners of command at the ready on the bottom side of the map and 1 on the top side, but there are just turrets set to fall all across this map as Grace is going to take a lot of damage from that powered shock blast.
Doesn't see the wall, so he can't actually afford to walk up to 500 range and put in those last couple of autos.
Yep.
We mentioned the transfer of power. Viper and Lehens are actually pushing in the Mordekaiser Horn now.
Yeah, Dark Binding is going to land as well. That's going to get the ultimate out of Nova here, who does play some Pong, but doesn't know there's 2 members of Griffin on the top side. They do spot them as they poke their heads out. And Jin Air are going to at least be able to clear out this control ward. Good positioning from Kakao to help for the counter gank.
Now Griffin walk up, they can put a pillar into the Anivia. Don't even need to get the turret anyway. Continue to grow this gold lane again. An almost completely bloodless game. Gold lead balloons, and this is in a snowball meta where the snowball's largely around kills, not around those objectives.
Yeah, it has been one of these metas that you've been talking about it yourself, that it has been very chaotic so far, but this, like you say, just more about how this game has been played out, not who's died and who's been camped and things like that, despite the fact that Soan might argue it.
Also, the issue is a lot of gold dumped into Banner of Command, and they're down 3-0 in turrets when that is very much what you're setting up for.
Another example of our AD carry extraordinaire Teddy just not being able to transition very well into the Mordekaiser as well, as Papa's getting very excited as, oh my goodness, Storm Razor picked up from Viper?
Second time we've seen the Storm Razor GP. I believe Smeb was the first one to do it. Theory is that when your first auto counts as a parlay, it's all about getting that big barrel crit very, very early. You walk around, you set up your barrel link. It usually takes about the 2.5, 3 seconds it takes for Storm Razor to be available, and boom, a big crit. And this early in the game, before the armor is fully stacked. There is, of course, armor on the banners, but when the armor is fully stacked, it's a nice 2-item power spike. It's almost the old Trinity Force and Infinity Edge of metas past.
Well, it could be that he's also going to go for something like a Mortal Reminder as well for that extra armor penetration as well as that Grievous Wounds. So a lot of options, especially considering the fact that now you don't need to build any crit at all, really.
I had a great experience in solo queue with a Jin AD carry, which again sounds like the most outdated of picks, but a Jin AD carry rushing Storm Razor. That guy did a lot of damage. That's all I can say. So there's some free ELO advice there for you guys at home. All right, third Drake of the game.
Yeah, we're going to get a Cannon Barrage this time around, though, as Viper's going to throw that one in there. A lot of damage already being done here.
He got it!
Jin Air, as the steal comes in from Tarzan, and now the fight is going to break out in earnest. Big Ornhorn comes in for the triple knock-up, but Lehens right in there with the Soul Shackles locking everyone down, and it's all about Griffin in this team fight. It's only Grace who slinks away as well as Soan, and they're not going to be able to do anything against this Griffin onslaught.
No full commitment from the side of Jin Air. As you say, 2 are just out of position and can't react. The Swain is zoning multiple people and getting so much value out of his ultimate. Jin Air have no ability to split them with the wall. That means that Griffin just transfer their power to the Baron, and the perfect game territory is only denied by a Cloud Drake.
Yeah, just a Cloud Drake, and probably almost say that we'd give it to him as it's almost 7,000 gold before this Baron has even been taken down yet at 22 minutes in a game with only 4 kills on patch 8.11. That's insane. Let's have a look at it again.
Again, Anivia can counter bruises, but we're waiting for the wall to split the members of Jin Air. That is what the wall should be able to do. But Jin Air actually zoned themselves. Teddy, Nova, and Co are standing in the pit, and then the moment that Swain activates his ultimate, there's no ability for them to walk past it. They just die incidentally. Those are the bonus kills. The Demonic Ascension being popped is kind of the start of the death knell for the side of Jin Air.
Yeah, and I feel like Swain and Anivia have similar ideas when it comes to how they're going to be used in this particular meta, that just against the bruises. Swain certainly rising in popularity a lot this week for that same reason. He
has the setup in the passive, but the crucial thing is wall is a long cooldown and is stationary, can be flashed through. The moment that Swain starts walking at you and has zone flash and Azonias, he can move the battlefield or the locus of control, and you know, that was just enough there. They were able to move around the battlefield, and Jin Air were corralled by the Demonic Ascension, and now Baron buff is up, and GP's like, well, I'm still farming phase, guys. I'm happy if this game goes late.
Yeah, and we've got a 3-item Swain here as well. Shirelia's Revelry just completed as a full stack of Rod of Ages has been done as well. Rather is a huge force to be reckoned with. 1-0 and 2 now after that last fight. So Griffin, after all the dust had settled, it's almost a 10,000 gold lead, 24 minutes into the game, and the Baron buff still has 2 minutes of duration to continue pounding down on these turrets. Sword in the mid lane, and the rest of Griffin are looking to try and lock down Teddy. Really good pillar's going to be Flash. There's the Vision of Empire even in there to do some poke damage. Cannon has been set up.
In with all the banners of command, doesn't matter. Double cannon minion with the Baron buff, pushes up. Griffin can put down a Trundle pillar, and the Swain passive is online. That is that old synergy we saw so much in the spring season. Difficult to stop this. Turret's just rolling down. Jace soloing one in mid, 4 members in bot lane. Great lane assignment as another crit barrel goes wide. However, the minion wave's getting cleared out very trivially by the game.
Yeah, very, very quickly, as you've got the Force Lightning coming in from Rather as well, who's going to help get rid of those minions, and these cannons just sitting here mowing down the inhibitor turret. Base broken now on the bottom side as Tarzan's even able to get some auto attacks. Ornhorn comes in, but Rather right in there with the Zhonya's Soan. Has to get the hell out of Shock Blast. Would have spelt his death, and now Rather just looks impossible to kill, buying so much space for them to take down these inhibitors. Soan takes a lot as the Demonic Ascension pops. And Griffin, they're looking like they even want to end the game here at 25 minutes.
Almost a perfect game here for Griffin. What can Jin Air do?
Yeah, absolutely stunning performance. One Nexus turret remains as Teddy. He's going to be the focus, gets a lot of his health back as Cacao. Survives for a surprisingly long time, but that's going to be that. It's only Lehens that is going to fall. The only kill that Jin Air were afforded this game as Griffin steamroller.
And it actually looked like the 3-0 versus 0-3 game that it was on paper. Jin Air had the long tenure in the LCK. They were close to relegation last season, and Griffin are showing they are far from relegation fodder. The jungle battle was very one-sided in this game. I thought that Tarzan, who has been credited by his team for a lot of the calls the team makes, even when he's not always on the screen making them, was just always a step ahead of Cacao, and it's hard to look at some of your old idols and see that they have fallen, but unfortunately, Cacao seems off the pace of the game, where meanwhile, the heartbeat of Griffin is their jungler Tarzan.
Yeah, and I have a feeling we might be seeing Umpty in game number 2. Of course, don't know just yet what is going to happen as far as the Jin Air camp is concerned, but that was not what we wanted from this squad. But absolutely brilliant to watch from Griffin. I'm glad that you spoke about Tarzan, because I think you could, a lot of players would think, oh, he didn't gank a whole lot early on, apart from getting that first spot on the top side of the map. Why is he so good? Well, a lot of it has to do with the fact that he was just always in the right place, and I'm glad you highlighted it.
There's been a couple of mechanical plays, late game team fight on Camille, but he hasn't been 2 ganks in the first 5 minutes like Haru.
Yeah.
To me, maybe he will be one of these players, you know, the ones you hear about in sports who are like kind of unsung heroes when it comes to what's on camera, but behind the scenes, and in terms of the comms, are a very big player. I think Tarzan later will have his highlight moments, but every player on their side has credited him for his smart pathing, for his calls, the fact that he's a step ahead of the action. He was certainly a step ahead here, even if it's not the sort of thing that's really shown in a damage chart.
Yeah, and some of the real problems here, I think, lie on the top side of the map. I know Soan did struggle a whole lot. He got focused a whole lot, but the fact that he got no damage done, and there were multiple team fights that game.
But when was he going to do damage? He was either zoned by a Swain or zoned by a Jace.
Yeah.
There's nothing he could do. Yeah,
it was a really rough situation, but certainly a fantastic performance from Griffin to start off this huge Super Wednesday for the LCK. I'll have to see whether Jin Air can turn it around as we move to game number 2. But it's going to be really, really rough. Griffin, once again, just brilliant. See whether Chovy's going to come in as well for game number 2 as well. That's certainly a question to be asked. Is he going to pad that KDA